Well, good morning, guys, and welcome to week 18 of Gospel Greetings. You'll remember the last couple of weeks we've been talking about rejoicing in the Lord, not being anxious, presenting your requests to God, the peace of God garrisoning your hearts. And then last week we thought about things that we think about. That's what we thought about. And it was awesome, talking about whatever's true, noble, right, etc. This week we're going to go on and we're going to talk about doing. We're going to talk about actions. Listen to the verse this week, Philippians 4:9. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. Well, before Paul had said, when you pray, the God of peace will be with you. And now he's saying that when you do the stuff that Paul's done, God's peace will be with you. But what did Paul do? How about Acts chapter 16? Do you remember when Paul first came to the Philippians? You remember what happened? He led a lady who sold purple cloth to the Lord and her household, then cast out the demon from a young slave girl who was basically being trafficked for a spirit of divination, and cast out that spirit of divination. And then because of that, the meal ticket being gone from her handlers, they had Paul and Silas arrested, and they're beaten with rods and then thrown into jail in shackles. And do you remember what happens there? Yeah, they're sitting there praying and worshiping God, and then there was a great earthquake. The jail doors were open, but there was no jailbreak. The guys stayed there. And then the jailer came down, seeing that no one had left. He just said, "What must I do to be saved?" And I want you to think about the actions. I want you to think about the attitudes of Paul and Silas. See, he taught them a lot. He sent these letters, but his actions spoke louder than words. So the first attitude is he's just been beaten with rods. And then there's old he and Silas singing hymns and praising God. And all the people in the jail, all the prisoners can hear him. And they're mystified. They just can't believe it. And I'm sure the Philippian people thought, how did Paul and Silas do this when they were in prison? Obviously, it was the Spirit of the Lord. Then they think of his actions. Think of what he did. He didn't cry out. He didn't tell them right away he was a Roman citizen so he'd avoid it. No, what he did was he prayed to God. He and Silas were praying and they were worshiping. And God answers a miraculous prayer with this great earthquake, and the doors are opened and the jailer and others come to faith. It's a beautiful thing. The other thing is you may not pick this up in the scriptures, but he allays the fears of the jailer. You see, he goes in there and says right away, hey, no one's gone. Don't kill yourself, because losing prisoners wasn't going to be accepted by the Roman government. He'd be killed himself if he lost those prisoners. He said, hey, we're all still here. And the jailer came to faith. You see, Paul's attitude, his actions, everything he did, the care for people, was something that they received and learned from him. Now, for each one of us, we see this attitude. We see Paul's actions to the Philippians. And then he says, whatever you've seen or heard, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. You see, there may be somebody that you need to ask forgiveness from. There may be a hard decision that you're wanting to make and you haven't. You've been waffling. You've been waiting. And I think God is saying you're not going to have peace until you do the right thing, no matter how hard it is. So I pray that this week you'll do the right thing, just as Paul did. It may be hard, but you'll have peace from it. Blessings to you this week in Jesus' name.